This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everyone. This is for anyone who leads a team. Maybe you own a business. Maybe you're responsible for others, but it also applies to the rest of us. We are leaders. Every one of us is a leader. We're leading ourselves. How do you do that effectively in all areas? It's the 4 hats of leadership. And that ties into much of what this gentleman offers with a wonderful platform of coaching, insight, programs, and so much more. It's called Intentional Achievements. And he is the founder and coach behind it. Joe Price joins us once again. How are you doing today, Joe?
Doing great. Good to see you, Steve. How you doing?
Good, good. You know, I'm trying to get that visual of what those 4 hats would be, and I'm not even sure.
Okay, excellent. So let me introduce it this way. Do you know an entrepreneur?
Do I know one?
Yes.
I'm going to throw it back to you. How do you
Okay.
define an entrepreneur?
Okay. Let's say somebody who you have an entrepreneur who loves to start a business and build it to a certain place and then either sell it or turn it over to somebody, but they love to start something new, something that's trendy, something that's needed in the marketplace.
Gotcha. Yes, and
Okay,
myself.
good. So, what are the characteristics and qualities of a person to make them a good entrepreneur?
What are the qualities?
Yeah.
Let me think about that for a sec.
Okay.
Somebody that's got their finger on the pulse of today.
Good.
It's going to be somebody who disciplined.
Good.
It's going to be somebody who takes risks.
Yeah, good for you. And with that risk, they have to see the future, what the trends are, and what the needs are in that market in order to satisfy them. Correct? So they have the
100%.
vision for what this is and what it could be. And then they're able to take the risks necessary in order to build that from scratch. Right? Uh, Now, that's called the entrepreneur hat. And we're going to put that off to the side. Now, think of a business executive or leader that you know, and what are the skill sets and qualities that make them an excellent or a good leader?
Leading by example.
Good.
Somebody who is open to criticism.
Okay.
Somebody who, and I'm processing those I know and
Sure.
factoring out the ones I don't think are that effective at that.
Exactly.
Um, Somebody that, and I know this is like oversaid, but somebody who truly is a team player. I've had managers before, they were all for themselves. They were just covering their butts. And it was,
Absolutely.
and it wasn't just me. It was clear. That's what they were
Yeah.
doing.
And these leaders not only are team players, they're team builders
Mm.
and they're team leaders to where they learn how to inspire people to become better than what they were without them or before them,
And I just
right?
got a flash in my mind about that question about what makes a business leader. And this is somebody who replaced somebody who wasn't that effective in a particular role.
Yeah.
Curiosity.
Yeah, good for you. And with that curiosity, they're also curious about the people that they work with
Yes.
and how to make their people the best that they can be.
100 billion%. Yeah.
Very much people focused. So we have the entrepreneur hat, the person who starts something, takes risks, see the vision and create something for the future. We have the leader who is the team builder, the inspirer, the people person,
Sure.
creating a culture that really moves the organization forward.
Gotcha.
We'll take the leader hat, put that off to the side. Now think of a good manager that you know that manages the business side of things. And what makes them a good manager?
A manager, a good one, is able to identify the strength of his team individually.
Yes, absolutely true. And they're able to motivate those people
Hmm.
in order to do what's necessary to do. The key characteristic for a manager is to be able to organize and systematize and create processes for the people to follow and implement. If the manager is not highly organized, the business is chaotic,
Yep. Yep.
correct?
We talked about leaders, but if that's also lead by example, if that manager is all over the place, everybody else is going to be all over the place.
Absolutely true. So there's the manager hat. We're going to put that off to the side, and we're going to talk about the last hat, which is called the specialist hat. And the specialist is the one who executes everything that's been given to them. They're expert in their knowledge, they're good problem solvers, and they're good mentors because of their expertise. They can mentor people and train them to do what's necessary in order for the systems and processes to work properly.
Do they always have to be that person that mentors? For example, there are some people that specialize in tech. They're geniuses,
Yes,
but they're kind of introverted. They don't really, they
true.
just do their thing. You throw it to them, they create, they write code, on and on and on and on. They don't want the spotlight. They just want to get it done. Is
That's
that still,
true.
is if they don't have that mentor mindset, is that okay?
Yeah, it's absolutely okay.
Okay.
And especially since we need the specialist in order to get the job done. So we can have an entrepreneur who creates something great for the future, a leader who creates a good team and a good culture, a manager who organizes the chaos. But if we don't have a specialist to implement all of that, everything falls apart.
Wow. So,
Now,
uh-huh.
think about each one of those not as titles or positions, but as mindsets that we hold. And here's what I mean. If we're the leader in the business, shouldn't we also be a visionary and take risks in order to get our business to the next level?
I would think so.
If we don't put that entrepreneur hat or mindset on, then the business maintains instead of grows.
Say that again, because that is radically important for many of us where we don't feel like we're growing in our businesses, we're maintaining, uh,
Correct.
and we don't understand why.
Right. Is because we don't put that entrepreneurial mindset into practice. We don't put that hat on and say, where's the next great opportunity for my business? Where can I take some calculated risks in order for us to move forward?
What if you've implemented some things that you think address needs, and let's say it's within a certain niche in your line of work, so you would be perceived as the expert in this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit different than what you do, but it's still in line with it. And what if
Sure.
you launch it and just doesn't stick, doesn't get traction? It's not making the revenue you expected it to.
Yeah.
How would
So
you how would you look at that?
the challenge for the entrepreneur is not to think, what do I want to create? And then create it and see if the market absorbs it. But the entrepreneur looks into the market and says, what does the market need? And how do I satisfy that need with this new endeavor?
So if you don't have all the qualities of all the leaders, all the hats, what we're talking about here,
Right.
can you still get it done?
You can, but you're going to struggle, and one area is going to compensate for another. Going back to our compensation triangle that we've covered in the last couple of weeks. So, for example, let's say that you put on the entrepreneur hat and you say, I've analyzed the market, it needs this, I'm creating this business. If you don't put your leader hat on and say, I need a team around me, I need an inspiring culture because I can't do it all.
Hmm.
I need to be able to lead that group in order to accomplish what I need to accomplish. The entrepreneur is going to be stuck at a certain point doing everything themselves, compensating for a lack of leadership hat with an entrepreneur hat, a manager hat, or a specialist hat, right?
So, all right, we got the four. And let's say you are a business leader. Now, to be effective, you need to have some of the other hats or all the other hats.
Correct.
In what ratio? Yeah, I can't imagine it's going to be, there's four here. So 25%, 25% and on.
Yeah, it depends on what outcome is needed as to which hat you put on. So, for example, if I start a new business and I'm starting to hire people, I'm not going to put my specialist hat on. I'm going to put my leader hat on because I need to hire and build a proper team and a proper culture. Now, when I put that team and culture together, if I don't put my manager hat on and create systems and processes, agreements, and commitments to those in order to put some calm to the chaos, then I'm going to have an entrepreneur mindset for the future. I'm going to have a team of people who are chaotic and have no idea what to do.
It seems to me that the percentages of all four is fluid. It depends on the situation,
It
or as
does.
time goes on. Um, Now, let's say you
Here's
launch the
here's the
project.
key. Here's the key. We have to be so aware of each one of these hats because the hat determines what skill set I use and what my actions are that I'm going to do next, right? So, for example, if I create this system and process with my manager hat on, but now I've got a bunch of emails that I have to answer. There are some questions, management questions that I have to deal with. I've got some people problems. I've got some issues with some of my clients. If I don't know how to intentionally switch hats to know which hat I need, what skill set I need for that particular situation,
Hmm.
I'm going to flounder. I'm going to think, well, I can solve all my problems with my leader hat on. But my leader hat isn't organized, isn't process oriented. I may think I just keep my entrepreneur hat on because I have a vision for the future, but I don't know how to lead and communicate inspirationally with my people. And so now I have to compensate wearing my entrepreneur hat by doing everything instead of delegating and empowering people to do it.
How do you keep yourself in check?
You ask yourself when something comes up, what outcome am I looking for, and which is the best mindset and the best hat for me to wear in order to bring about that outcome.
Oh, okay. So let's say you're doing your thing, no matter what hat you predominantly wear. Am right in saying that there is one hat
Yes,
that you always wear, but sometimes you take it off, or you move it to the side, you put another hat on.
that's
Um,
correct. But
yeah,
usually we do it unintentionally. We do it by reaction rather than doing it by intention.
so it's a case by case basis where you need to make the determination as to what had to change.
That's how fluid this is, and that's how cognizant we need to be of which hat, what skill set, and what actions in order to bring about what outcome.
Joe, would you say, I'll give a situation. It doesn't matter what hat you're wearing predominantly, but a challenge arises with a team member. Maybe it's their interaction with others, whatever it is, but we have a little personnel challenge here. Should you or could you take a look at your notebook? And yes, notebooks are back, by the way. Many of us are going old school because we're so tired of this, this robotic technology.
Yeah.
And intentionally say, all right, well, let's say you wear the entrepreneur hat on a regular basis. I got to take care of this situation. You know what? I got to put the manager hat on for this one. Jim, come in. Got to talk. And now
Absolutely.
did did you did you switch gears or switch mindset to
Intentionally.
I'm the manager in your mind at the moment?
Yep.
Wow.
And what we have done is we've created these little flashcards that have the four hats and a little bit of an explanation for them. Let me show you what it looks like.
Ooh.
Okay. And you can carry this flashcard around with you and say, okay, I've got this personnel problem. Which hat am I going to wear? What outcome am I looking for as a result of wearing this hat? And you take a minute or two to plan and prepare getting into that mindset and how am I going to hold that conversation?
You already did it, and here I am, and I'm going to transcribe this to my notebook is over there, so I didn't have it in my hand, but I wrote
Right?
everything down here in a post-it note in
There you go.
detail.
Yeah.
I was going to transcribe it. You already did it with the flashcard.
Yeah. And
Wow.
it's a great tool. It has to become internalized. It has to become so fluid to where the flashcard becomes a reminder, but you're really saying to yourself, okay, I know what the outcome is. I need to inspire this person to get back into action.
I,
I need
I
to put that leader hat on, and here's the skill sets that I'm going to use, and here's the way I'm going to plan this communication.
you never know what's going to present, I would imagine, and you could be in a meeting and something just went down. We
Yep.
have a conflict between two people or a difference of opinion, and you're sitting there. And now what do I do? Okay, what hat am I going to put on? Because
Yeah.
I have to come out with the best outcome.
Now, we talked about leading by example, right? We want to teach this concept to others because we want them to understand what's going on so they can emulate it. So if I'm in a meeting and there's a challenge that comes up, here's what I do. I do this in all my coaching sessions, for example. I say, look, I'm going to switch hats for a second because I was in my manager hat because we're talking about a new process that we have to implement in our company. But it looks like we got a challenge here between two of our departments. I'm going to switch hats to my leader hat, and we're going to talk about how to resolve this conflict between these two departments. We're going to solve that. Then I'm going to put my manager hat back on, and we're going to establish this process and make it work.
Could your hats change in a half hour? Depending on I mean, that fluid where I went from the manager hat to the entrepreneur hat. Or, I'm going to put the specialist hat on because I have
Absolutely.
certain skills that, maybe I've got more time at the company or in this line of work, and I got to jump to the occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are not 100% sure of the hat, what the mindset is, what the outcomes are for that mindset,
Mm.
and what skills you're going to use, that's going to be a very clunky process. And because it feels uncomfortable, you're not going to do it. And so you're going to try to solve an employee problem wearing a specialist hat or wearing an entrepreneur hat, and it's not going to go well.
It seems like, yeah, I was just going to say this could go really wrong if you're wearing the wrong hat.
Well, think about interactions that you've had with people and where it didn't go as planned. And could it possibly be that the person was in the wrong mindset when they were trying to deal with that issue?
That's a great point and a great exercise too, because I was just doing it before when you asked me the different qualities of a manager hat, a leader hat, somebody that wears those. Um, right away, I was thinking of people that I've been involved with over years and who they were, what hat they were wearing. And even I could even look at situations where there's one in particular where this manager, and I'm referring even to the same company, didn't really wear the right hat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what hat could he have worn?
Yeah.
Hmm,
So here's the interesting, let me give you some fine tuning. The difference between a leader and a manager. Okay.
sure.
The leader inspires, the manager motivates.
Hmm.
Now, what's the difference between the two? In my leadership class, I had a participant years ago come up with an analogy that I still use. I asked his permission because it was so good. I wish I would have thought of it. But here's what they said: a leader lights a fire in someone, a manager lights a fire under someone.
Hmm. That is good.
Okay. Now,
Writing it. I'm writing it down.
yeah. Now, think about this. You've got an employee who is having personal problems and they're carrying their personal problems to work. If I had my manager hat on and that mindset of motivating, of pushing somebody, lighting a fire under, you've heard the old thing about carrot and the stick, right?
Yep.
The manager uses the carrot, the manager uses the stick, the leader uses the carrot. So the manager says, if you don't do this, I'm going to write you up. The leader says, come over here for a second because I noticed you're not, sort of up to your normal way of doing things. And I wanted to find out, is there something going on at home? Is there something going on that's affecting your ability to do your job? Let's have a conversation about it.
So a leader can be a manager and a manager can be a leader.
Again, it's the shifting of hats so fluidly
Yeah. Yeah.
that it looks seamless, but it is absolutely intentional.
You really need to get this right and know who you are at every moment to do it right.
Absolutely right. And it's the key to intentionality, right?
Hmm.
Because the question about intentionality is, what outcome do I want? And what skill set and abilities do I use in order to get that outcome? If I don't do that intentionally, I mean, how many organizations have you worked with where people just don't do it intentionally and correctly? And how many problems exist inside the company as a result?
Yeah. It's so true. And just what I did before in this one organization, three managers in a period of, I want to say maybe 3 years, give or take. One was there for a long time. Another one replaced him for a few years. Yeah, the first one was okay. The second one was a little bit better. The one that came uh, as the last one was fantastic. And I'm gonna say, and I'd have to do a little soul searching there. He was fluid in what he needed to do, and he was the kind of guy that would say, "Yeah, you got some ideas. You know what? Meet me for a burger. We'll have a beer. Let's talk about it." The other
Right.
ones would never do that. It was all more formal. Come into my office. It's like, yeah, let's just talk about it. He was one of the team, but you still respected him as a leader, as a manager, etc.
Right.
And in terms of the specialist, I guess he would be a specialist he was a manager of a media company, but he was a specialist at sales when he needed to be, and he would just change his
Absolutely.
hat. And I think he was really good at that, changing
Yeah.
hats. Hmm.
A couple of months ago, I did a keynote talk to an organization in Maryland, and they had just gone through a major transition where the CFO became the new CEO.
Hmm.
The old CEO was a very leader-oriented person, people, team, culture. The new CEO was a manager-oriented person, not very people-oriented, very process and systems oriented, generated. A lot of positive things happened during the transition, but and I talked to a lot of the leaders in the organization, the morale was down, teamwork was down, cross pollination between departments was down because the people focus was gone.
Which I believe is rampant in our workforce, and why many have quietly quit. They've checked out. They just show up.
Absolutely.
They're not personally invested because nobody's personally invested in them.
That's correct. And so, if we can get leaders in business to understand these four hats, these four mindsets,
Mhm.
switch between them intentionally and fluidly, what a difference our organizations and corporate America in general could make.
Explosive productivity,
Yep.
in terms of the bottom line, all of that.
Yeah.
This is really fantastic.
Yeah. Here's the fascinating part. And I'm going to sort of touch on what we're going to talk about next week, because in our personal lives, we can use these same four hats in order to make our lives more harmonious and the outcomes in our life ultimately better.
Interestingly, when we talked about this from the business aspect, I kind of got it and figured it out. If you were asking me those questions that you asked in the beginning on a personal level, I don't have an answer for you. I have to think a little bit
Yeah.
deeper, and
And
I'll do
that's
that.
what we're going to talk about next time.
I'm intrigued. Like this is
Yeah.
that would be a challenge for me in your personal life. Where do you wear the entrepreneur hat? Where do you wear the business leader hat in your personal life? Think
Yep.
about your kids, spouse, partner, whatever it is.
Sure.
Um, Yourself. How do you manage yourself?
Absolutely. Yep.
Oof. Wow.
Because what happens is when we're not aware of this and we wear the wrong hat,
Yeah.
we have to compensate with personal willpower, personal effort, personal stress,
Mm,
and everything that comes along with it.
sure.
To where if we did the right things with the right hats, with the right mindset, our life would be smoother, more harmonious, and the outcomes in our entire 9 areas of life would be better.
In theory, this is amazing. Done wrong, though, you can really offset things way out of balance,
You can.
maybe worse than they were because you have to do it right.
Well, and here's the challenge that I have for folks. Through 40 years of doing this and research that has been done in the industry, knowledge does not change performance. Just because you know now about the four hats doesn't mean that you're going to go home today and be able to know how to implement them. You need training, you need coaching, and that's what our organization does.
This is the starting point for sure. Wow. But very exciting, though, when you think about how you can change the scenario within your company or your life structure, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Um, Even just broadly looking at this, you can see the benefit. Now, imagine if you had the training, the coaching, and really, really embraced it intentionally. You know,
Absolutely.
deep within. Whoa, you'd be dangerous in a good way. Uh,
Well, I'll give you one example. A company that I worked with years ago, they were doing somewhere around $16 million worth of revenue a year in their industry. but they were chaotic. They had morale problems. There was all kinds of issues in the areas of these four hats. We implemented training and coaching in this area. In 3 years, they were at $40 million. Their morale level was up about 40%, and their absenteeism rate went down about 22%.
I mean this when I say it. Hats off to you. We're talking about the hats, but for sure. Best way to learn more about this, Joe? How can we find out?
Intentionalachievements.com, and email is joe@intentionalachievements.com. If people want to go and get a free ebook about the issues that we're talking about, go to intentionalachievements.com/get-my-gift.
Every time we get together, you have so much insight. And I'm going to say it gets better every time.
Thank you.
And it's always good, but like this is just all of it's usable, but this every time there's like, and I'm excited for next week to figure out how to apply this to our personal lives because I can't figure it out. I'm trying, but I'll be thinking about it in the meantime.
Everybody should come back for next week's session.
Love it. Joe, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.